planning permission or permitted development. So if you've been following my journey so far, you'll know that we have just had planning permission. It took 295 days for us to get planning approval. So you can imagine that we did explore all our options, and we also explored permitted development. So just a quick disclaimer, I am no expert. I am just relaying what my version of permitted development and planning permission is, and like maybe this video might help you think, actually, do we need to go for planning permission, or could we try and do it under permitted development? So I will talk about planning permission first, because I know when you're doing a renovation, sometimes there's so much lingo about, and you kind of just want to hear someone who has not much idea what they're talking about either explain it to you. What exactly is planning permission? So your local planning authority, and in our case this is Cardiff Council, but it's usually your district or borough council, so wherever you live it's your council basically. They're responsible for deciding what goes on, what can get built, what can get changed, can trees be removed for example, and it's not just for your house, it's for large estates, it's for commercial properties, it sometimes can be even to change the colour on your house, and many other things as well. So I think, you know, we do need a planning department, because you wouldn't want to have something absolutely mental being built next door without any thought process behind it. So planning permission, so most new buildings, major alterations to existing buildings, and significant use of change to a piece of land or existing building need this type of permission. In most instances, it is quite obvious why you may think you need planning permission. For example, imagine you just moved into a new house and the house next door wanted a banana-shaped extension at the front of the house, and there was no planning permission needed. Then you get a little bit worried, and you know, the streets could start to look a little bit chaotic, and which could also mean that people don't want to buy in the area, which could also drive down GDP, for example. So the process required for planning permission in our case was we hired an architect to come and do our architect drawings for us, and in that package then he would upload it to Cardiff Council and converse with the Cardiff Council planning department. Now that goes onto a portal that you can go on, I'm sure your council has them, so you can literally go online and type in Cardiff Council planning applications for example, and you can filter by street, you can have a look what's happening on the street. So if you're thinking about buying a house and you want to see if the house that you're thinking about buying has ever had planning rejected or approved, you can go and see this on the portal. It doesn't date back too far, I think it's like 2007, and then you might not be able to see anything before that because it was all done by hand. But yeah, so it's very public and you can see pretty much everything that you want to see on there, and that includes removing trees, it includes commercial buildings, which is like for business use, and it includes residential as well. So then once you've uploaded it to planning permission, it then goes out to neighbours for consultation. So your neighbours can object, they can say that they like it, all these things for a period of 3 weeks. So even if nobody objects, this doesn't mean that you will get planning permission, because this happened in our case. We had absolutely no rejections whatsoever, but the planning department wouldn't approve our designs. And you know, if they had just told us why in the first place, we wouldn't have been so annoyed, because now that they've told us, we can kind of see what they mean. They don't like to alter the front of their property too much from what it originally looked like in 1948, I think. My legislation isn't like amazing, because like I said, I'm not an expert, I'm just talking about it from our experience. So it took 295 days for us to get planning permission. This is quite abnormal. It usually takes 8 weeks. Sometimes it can take up to 16 weeks with revisions. 4 months maximum, I think it should take. But ours took obviously 10 months because that's just our luck. We were looking for alternative measures. We were thinking we're probably never going to get planning permission at this rate. So we started looking into permitted development. Now, you might be surprised there are quite a few things that you can do within permitted development, and some people call it PD for short. So if you hear PD and you're like, what the hell is PD? It stands for permitted development. So you can kind of hear it in the name. It is a permitted development, whereas most things aren't permitted, they require planning permission. So permitted development is a set of mechanisms that allow you to do work to your property without the need for planning permission. So it does sit completely separate from planning. You do, however, I think, need to tell your local council what you are doing, but it is not a planning application. You just have to run it past them to say, hello, I am building XYZ, and that is that. You do not have like an answer whether you can go ahead or not. Within permitted development regs, then you should be okay to just let them know and crack on with what you want to do. There are many benefits to this, so if you've just moved into a reno and you cannot wait to get planning approval, then you can just go ahead and start with permitted development. So for example, for our detached bungalow, we could actually extend 4 meters out the back without planning approval, but there are of course more things to consider than this. So for example, I think the roof had to be underneath the original soffit of our bungalow. So there are things that you do need to consider when you are looking at permitted development. You'll have to do your research, but this is just kind of like our experience and what I learned about it along the way. Can extend on a detached property out 4 meters to the back. However, if you've already got an extension, that is part of that 4 meters. So for example, we've got a 3 meter conservatory on the back, so we'd only be able to extend a further meter if we wanted to extend that conservatory, but we're getting rid of the conservatory. That means the original building stops there and we can go out 4 meters from the back of the property, which will be around where the conservatory ends at the moment. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, you have to take it into consideration. Has the property already had an extension? If it has, then you need to have a little look when it was built, and yeah, because it needs to be kind of 4 meters from the back of the original property. I'm not sure about out to the sides. Again, whatever your project is, have a look at what is covered within permitted development rights. You can always go and get a planning consultant who can tell you exactly what will pass and what will not. So permitted development doesn't always apply. It applies where we are, but if you live in a conservation area or there's anything like that in your area, you will have to check if permitted development rights are permitted, of course, because in some areas they are not. So you've just got to be careful. But there are a lot of things that do come under permitted development, which you probably don't even think they might need to be under anything, but changing your windows and doors. So in our old house, we lived on a new build estate and our door was sage green, and if we wanted to change the colour of this, we would have to go and tell the council and change it within permitted development. But yeah, it's so random, but it was just in keeping with the area really. So we are getting a outbuilding built. This comes under permitted development, so we do not need to have planning permission. It just has to apply to those permitted development rules. So it can't be above, I think, 2.5 meters, and it has to be 50 centimeters away from each boundary. It also can't be used for habiting. It can be used for occasional use as a habitable property. So for example, if you had some friends around, that can be used as a garden room, but you can't live there all year round basically. You know, putting Velux windows in and your roof lights, they also can come into permitted development. So sometimes you can do a loft conversion within permitted development as long as you are not putting a huge dormer on the back. But some dormers do come under PD, so like I said, if you are thinking about doing it, then you need to go and get some expert advice, because some things can come under it if you haven't got time to wait for planning permission, because it can be a ball ache. Well, it was a ball ache. Then think about that, loft conversions, and obviously extensions at the back. So there are many things that do come under permitted development. You might not even need planning permission, but if you are thinking about, you know, raising the extension roof a little bit and you want to do this and that, I would definitely go for planning permission. You know, I think we just had really bad luck with ours. So yeah, those are the two differences. But I do think if I bought a new property now and I wanted to get it renovated as soon as possible, I would be definitely considering what can I do under permitted development. And if I didn't think it was much, then I would just go for planning permission as. Anyway, I hope that helped. I hope you will help you as well. So guys, just a quick reminder, we've had planning permission now, as I said earlier. So if you are enjoying renovation videos, then please subscribe to my channel. Give me a little bell notification thing as well. Then you'll get notified when a new video comes out, but we are going to be kicking off the build soon, and I've got a garden room being installed in March, so you won't want to miss out on that. Thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing some more of my videos, then click here, and I will see you in the next video.